How's it going, all you beautiful people? I'm Worst Player, and welcome back again to r/EntitledParents. So I'm a French student currently in my penultimate year of uni in the UK. The situation happened less than a year ago when I went into town with a French female friend of mine going to the same uni I go to. We were sitting on a bench in the main square of the city where we attend uni. A little more than 15 minutes later, in came entitled mom and little boy. Cast, M equals me, FF equals female friend, EM equals entitled mom, LB equals little boy, NEM, nice elderly man, and FR, French. I look at my friend and say in French, "How did your exam go?" "Oh, not too bad really. Still don't have my mark yet, but it should be fine." "Glad to hear that." EM starts walking towards us with LB and snapping at us. "What sort of language are you speaking?" Excuse me?" "You know exactly what I'm talking about. You shouldn't be speaking that language in front of my son. Now answer my question. What language was that?" I got up from the bench and just said, "Madam, I'm trying to speak to a friend in French, and in case you may not be aware, I have the right to speak my mother tongue to her in this country." "Oh, I learned French in school, Mummy. It's so cool." "Shut up, LB. I will not let you get brainwashed by your teachers and by these nasty little frogs." Frogs is a slang term for French people in the UK, which can be interpreted as either banter or derogatory depending on the tone. My friend is on the verge of tears and speaks in French. "I'm scared, OP. Let's go home." The entitled mother gasps. "Don't you dare utter another word in that horrible language." Just then, nice elderly man approaches us, and with a soothing posh accent, he asks EM, "Is there something wrong?" "These two French jerks have the cheek to speak their language in front of my fragile little boy." That's not true. Both of them approached us first and deliberately told us to speak specifically in English. Nice elderly man turned towards the mom. "Do you seem to have a problem with the French folk, madam?" "You bet I do. I voted to leave the EU for that particular reason, not having to put up with those baguette eaters anymore." "Yeah, she said it." "Brexit means Brexit." She really said it. I start pulling out the sophisticated English vocab on her. "Madam, my female companion and I were merely conversing with each other in our own lingua franca. I am but dumbfounded that you have decided to come and assault my pulchritudinous friend and myself. If you guys don't understand these words, look up in the dictionary." "WTF does that even mean? Are you trying to make your French words sound more English?" "No, madam. The young man has uttered valid English vocabulary, proving that he is in fact better at speaking English than you are. Now run along before I inform the policewoman behind me." And he shows the policewoman with his head. EM squints her beady eyes and stomps away with little boy in her hand, and my French friend's now crying her eyes out, and I sit down to comfort her. And then nice elderly man approaches us and says, in French, but in a nice enough English accent, "Don't you worry about her. I could tell from her behavior that she's a Brexit voter. You take good care of your friend, young man." And then he gives me a reassuring smile. "Thanks, sir." Nice elderly man walks off, and FF is leaning on my shoulder still crying. She then calms down, and we walk back to our homes. I don't know much about the EU, but boy, all I know is y'all making my friends cry. Y'all making my friends cry. We are throwing hands. Hands are being thrown. You are going to catch the paws, and that's all I gotta say about that. Whenever I get money for Christmas and stuff, my dad always wants to use it and complains to me why I never let him. I recently applied for a job, and I most likely won't get it. It's the first application I've ever put in. Take note, I am only 16, and I'm wanting to save money for when I graduate and move out. I am only a freshman in high school. I told him about some places I was thinking of working at. I was not that concerned about money because this would be my first job. I don't have a car license, but I know how to use our public transportation here in town. Knowing my dad, I had to say this to him so he would back off when I got a job. Once I open a bank account, I'm going to put money in it and nobody's going to touch it. Heck, I would even tell the rest of the family that I have a job. Take note that some of my dad's family members like to steal money. My aunt and uncle have scammed many churches out of thousands of dollars. They don't even have their house under their name. It's under my great-grandmother's. This is just an example of why I won't tell any family members. My dad's face was absolutely livid. Once he heard he would have no access to the bank account, he was not happy. This was his excuse. What am I going to do if I can't pay the gas bill and stuff? My response, of course, do what you usually do. Make a plan with the gas company. You need to learn how not to be dependent on your old daughter. Yes, you have financial issues because you don't know how to save money, as well as my aunt and uncle you have stolen from me. Your mother freaking brainwashed you about this stupid stuff again, and you need to mind your business and stop being a selfish brat. Dad, if I'm making money, I'm not being selfish. It's my money. This is exactly the reason why it's been connected to my stepdad's account, because I know I can trust him. Also, your bank does not have a good teens program. You always want my money and always want to borrow my stuff that you never paid for. It was either me from money I've earned or my mom. If it hasn't been obvious by now, my parents are divorced and I live with my dad. I've only been with him for the past 3 years now since we moved. My dad just stops off and the usual crybaby, brat, selfish brat, mentally disabled. It doesn't help that I'm supposed to be getting set up for being tested for autism, and that I just got out of a specialty unit a week prior to this conversation. He also doesn't get that I don't want him spending too much money on me. I tried my best to explain that to him, but it turns out to fail. Because he just blows up money on things on me I never asked for. He always complains about how we have very little money. He also gets upset when I try to budget to save money. You know, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of feel it's obvious this dad loves his daughter very much, but that doesn't mean he should have access to her bank account. I'd say this episode I've definitely tried to be a little more comical with my reactions, but I'm gonna be serious real quick. It's obvious he loves his daughter, alright? But at the same time, her money's her money, and he shouldn't just be able to borrow it all he wants. But that's just my opinion. A cousin of mine recently got into Studio Ghibli films. He wanted to borrow Spirited Away, and I was okay with that. His folks go to a church in my area, so they agreed to swing by and grab the disc after the service. They come in, and I go and get the disc. My cousin starts asking about some of the other Ghibli films and anime mixed into my DVD collection. Then he points to Soul Eater. It's a great show, but he just turned 13, and it wasn't exactly age appropriate. Plus, I didn't think his parents, mainly his mom, would approve. They're very religious, and the show revolves around soul harvesting, the Grim Reaper, witches, and some fan service. I'm still not sure why Ghibli was okay with them, because of the spirits, witches, and demons, but I was pretty sure a show called Soul Eater would tip that Jenga tower. So when he asked me if he could borrow it, I said no. That no seemed to catch my aunt's attention, and she was by my cousin's side in a flash. She asked why he can't borrow it, and I told her it may not be age appropriate. Then she says something along the lines of, "It's a cartoon. It's meant for children. You're a grown woman. You shouldn't have this anyway." I was a little irritated, but stood firm. Instead, I let the kid borrow My Neighbor Totoro as well as Spirited Away, and they went home. I thought everything was good until an hour ago. I received a call from my screaming aunt. She accused me of trying to corrupt her son with vulgarity and Satanism. I was lost at first, and then she mentioned a demon and a naked Catwoman being in the first episode. I checked my shelf, and Soul Eater was missing. I'm not sure when she did it, but she had stolen the box set. They're returning the movies next Sunday, and Soul Eater had better be with them. I'm hoping she doesn't confiscate it like she does with other ungodly stuff. That set was around $50 after shipping and handling. It was like the first anime box set I ever bought, and I will go to war for it. Alright, I've got a few problems with this. You'd think that when someone says something's age appropriate or not age appropriate and they own it, they'd know better than to give it to you. Literally, what if this had been like a hentai, a porn set, whatever? Then you'd really be in some deep stuff. And she says in an edit that she's 26, so her aunt doesn't have the right to confiscate it in the first place. But you know, that's none of my business. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this episode of r/entitled parents. Please like and subscribe if you're interested in more. and I'll see all you beautiful people later.